Yo guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. It's your boy Hillman here. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a city medical student based in the Netherlands. Final year medical student. Crazy, right? In this video, I'm going to be talking about the medical rotations, clinical rotations. For those of you who aren't familiar with the system, in the Netherlands, you have a 3-year bachelor's and a 3-year master's, which altogether is 6 years. After the bachelor's, you get a degree. And so the last year, which is master's years, are fully clinical rotations. So you're just doing rotations in the hospital, social medicine, internships, scientific internships, so that stuff. So there's no more classroom stuff in the masters, all clinical rotations. So this video is going to be giving you tips from my experience as a final year medical student. So I've been doing rotations now for 3 years or 2.5 years, more or less, to help you out with your own rotations. If you're curious about the system, if you're someone who is just starting off or somewhere in the middle of your rotations, these are my tips on how you can best navigate the rotations, or at least things that have worked for me, and maybe you can get some lessons from that as well. So without further ado, let's get right into it. For those of you who are just starting, if you're a medical student and you're just starting your rotations, the good news is it gets better. It does get better. I know in the beginning it is haunting, it's daunting. The thought of having to go through that for 3 years almost pushes some people to give up. I know the people I talk to nowadays who are just starting off are like, this is crazy, this is terrible. But it does get better. It does get better. That is the good news. It really does get better. My first tip for how to cope with the clinical rotations is to take care of yourself. And this is something which I see a lot of people neglect, like just get into the rotations and they feel like they just have to do what they have to do and just get in this rat race and this flow of like, you know, what is expected of me. I'm just gonna do that. I don't necessarily care about how I'm doing or how I feel in the current moment. But that is something which is ultimately important. And I think most important to actually build a sustainable flow that works for you, so you don't at some point crash because you don't take care of yourself. Because the thing is, everything you're doing in the rotations and everything you're going to do with your career in the future, ultimately you are the one who has to do it. Like this body and this mind have to do all those things. So if you don't take care of that now, at some point it's going to be compromised, and you don't want that in the long run. And I feel like taking care of your physical, mental, spiritual health, whatever health part of yourself you have to take care of, that is something which you have to be actively involved with in the masters, more so than the bachelor, because in the bachelor's it was not that challenging, it was not that pressing, it was not that confronting. You know, you have to deal with a lot of stuff in the masters, like just trying to balance stuff, trying to navigate stuff. It really takes a toll on you, and if you're not someone who's intentional with your health, it doesn't work the same as you could just passively do those things in the bachelor's. No, in the masters you have to actively be involved with them, because otherwise you get compromised at some point. I mean, do things that give you energy. I, for one, I try to take my content creation seriously because that gave me energy. I started coaching more because I got a lot of energy from talking to people and just helping people figure out their own stuff. I started taking like real good care of my physical health, eating healthier, running more. And the fun part is, it's always so interesting because the fun part is, during the masters, so my first rotations were surgery and internal medicine. Surgery was a hell because of the location as well, but it was a lot. And I know surgery, I was staying in the hospital, like in these rooms in the hospital. So I lived in the hospital for like 3 months, and they had no like stove where you could cook stuff, and the microwave was the only thing you had. So when I was there, I just started eating salads. Right? I just started eating salads for 3 months, like just cold salads for 3 months. Kind of like the feeling I got from that, like you feel nice. I don't know if you, for those of you who are not used to the salad game, when you eat salad, you feel nice. I felt nice and light, or at least maybe just me, but I felt nice and light. And I feel like after doing that for 3 months, I was like, you know, why would I go back to this stuff which does not necessarily make me feel as good as salads make me feel? So I just kept on like a predominantly salad full diet. So it's crazy how sometimes you're just pushed to do something, and then you realize the benefit of that thing and you just continue doing it. Like I've been doing that now for the last 3 years, mostly a predominantly salad diet, where if I don't have anything else I want to eat, I just go per default to salads. But that started because I was like forced to do that in that period of my surgical rotations. But yeah, focus on your health, do stuff, yoga, meditate, all that good stuff which you need to keep you mentally sound, physically sound, and just overall your health is at its best. That is at least one of my most important tips to help you sustainably go through your rotations and build a flow that also helps you much later after your rotations as well. The second tip would be to be assertive and stand up for yourself. This is something which I see a lot of people struggle with, understandably so, because it can be quite intimidating to deal with all the specialists and doctors who seem like they've established and they know it all and stuff like that. You have to, like, you know, stand up for yourself. Quite intimidating. I know I did that a lot, and I know when I talked about how I did it in the group settings which I was in, it was kind of like, but how do you do that? Like how do they react to that and stuff like that? It can be sometimes tricky, but I feel like it's something which you have to train yourself to do in order to do it more and feel comfortable with that. For example, I always took mental health days for myself. And the thing is, you can of course go and bullshit your way and like just say, yeah, I need a mental health day because I want to do something else, and then you go do something completely different from like actually taking care of yourself. That's something else, and that's not necessarily what I'm advising. So if you take a day off, or if you ask for some time off, actually do stuff that re-energizes you and gets you ready to go on further, even more pumped and more energized about what you're going to do. But I needed a time off to focus on my own stuff. So like make videos, go for a run, meditate, think about stuff which I also find important and which are priorities for me next to my rotations, because the rotations are just one part of my life. They're not who I am. So I cannot spend 45, 40, 50, 60 hours in the hospital a week without necessarily paying attention to the other things that give me energy, because that's not sustainable. I'm going to crash at some point. So I always took time, and I discussed that with my supervisors. I was very mature about it, I think. I heard their opinions and I told them my opinions. I'm like, okay, I need a day off or half a day off. Some rotations give you that. They actually require you to take a day off or half a day. For those of you who don't know, check. Some rotations require you to take at least half a day off a week, like internal medicine, for example. But I always discuss with them, listen, for so and so reason, I need a day off or half a day off to just focus on myself. Sometimes, for example, in neurology, I love the rotation so much, I did not need a day off because I got energy from being there. So that's something which you also have to see for yourself, what really works. But talk with them, discuss with them. Most of the time, if you're someone who is present when you have to be present, do what you have to do when you're there. They would have no problem with giving you a day off or half a day off, because they understand there's also things in your life which are more important than that sometimes. So just be assertive and stand up for yourself and be able to talk and have conversations and be able to understand the other side. If they say this week is busy, so we cannot let you go because we really need people, that's something you as a medical student can also understand, because sometimes you have responsibilities and you need to also be able to show up when you're required to show up. But there's also a lot of times where they can actually give you a day off, but people are just so scared to ask for it. And at the same time, like that leads to them compromising their mental health because they're not actually present when they are there, because their minds are somewhere else. And I feel like that's not helpful for both parties. No one is benefiting from you not wanting to be there, but being there. And I feel like I see a lot of students or colleagues of mine who are just there for being there. Like just there for, okay, I have to come and take my name. I'm like, that is not productive. That does not help you. That does not help the hospital. It does not help anyone. Why are you there? You know? So these things are things which I feel like medical students need to do more. Just stand up for yourself, and if you need some time off, take some time off. The world is not gonna stop if you take some time off. The hospital is gonna keep running. Newsflash, the hospital will keep running if you don't come. Poof, mind-blowing, right? The hospital is gonna keep running. They're not gonna stop if you are not there. But at some point, you might stop functioning if you don't stop to take care of yourself. So my second tip, and really important, be assertive, stand up for yourself when you need to, because that is very important. Third thing to keep in mind, for me at least, what I notice with rotations is time management. Time management is, in the bachelors, you can just passively do your stuff. You know, like I feel like there's a lot of passivity involved in the bachelors, and there's a lot of intentionality required in the masters, because you cannot just go on with your passive flow and expect things to just fall in place eventually. No. The masters will humble you. It will humble you, at least from my experience. Time management is something which I saw to be very important, which a lot of people don't know how to necessarily tackle. Thankfully, I took some time management courses in the bachelor's, like extracurriculars, so it kind of got me prepared, and I juggled a lot of stuff during the bachelor, so I kind of got a hang of the time management more or less in the bachelor. So in the master's, I could easily just implement the skills, but you have to be able to manage your time properly, because rotations take a lot of time. As some of you might have already noticed, it takes a lot of time. When you get back home and you're like, okay, what do I do now? What else can you do? You want to do all these things, but you don't have the energy or the time and stuff like that. And I feel like it requires a lot of intentionality to manage your time and say, okay, this is what I'm going to do at this point, this is what I'm going to do at this point, at that point. And there's a lot of tips you could like implement to kind of help you navigate the time management, like setting smaller goals, trying to see where you can fit other stuff in, trying to make sure that you milk out all the moments of your day. For me, one that really helped was just writing down the goals I have for the week and the day. Like just writing them down and seeing them. Because one thing I've learned with time management and with goal setting in general is you have to make the stuff you want to do more obvious and like within reach, and make the stuff you want to do less obvious and less within reach. For example, if you want to go running in the morning, an example, pick your running shoes and put them by your bed. Like there's some mental subconscious workings that like are attached to these small things which sometimes are minimized, but making the stuff you want to do more obvious, like more in your face, increases the chance of you actually doing that stuff. But if you keep having stuff you don't want to do, like, I always sleep with my window wide open. Like when I wake up and the sun is up, I can't sleep further because the sun is like right in my face. where it makes a chance of me getting up and getting to do stuff way easier than if the windows were like dark, where I wake up and I'm like, okay, it's still dark, I can go back to sleep, you know? So these small things are things which can really help and make a difference for some people. At least for me, it has been shown to really make a difference. If you want to do stuff, which I feel like in the masters is really important that you do stuff next to rotations, that gives you energy. One thing which I also forgot to mention at the second point is relationships. Like, of course, multiple studies have been done. Look it up, you'll find relationships are one of the most important determinants of a good quality of life. I think the study from Harvard followed people from like when they were young to like when they were really old, and found that one of the factors which really determined their level of happiness or quality of life in general was the amount of quality relationships they had in their lives. And this is something I've seen a lot of people neglect when they get into rotation, because the busy flow, everyone is in their own area, everyone is just doing their thing. People kind of tend to neglect their relationships. That is something which is really, really important. And I feel like tied to time management as well is something which, if you want to really keep those quality relationships, you have to be intentional about. Plan those things in. If you think about someone, message them. When do you have time? When do you have 5 minutes? These things, at least for me, re-energized me. And the more I got to focus on these things, the more I was intentional with being there with rotations when I had to be. Because if you have just so much time when you're at rotations, you know, after rotations you have so and so things to do, you're going to be as present as possible to make the most of the time. When you're done with rotations, you know you're done with that. You've been there, done that, give your best. Now on to the next thing. When you're there, you're also present. I noticed when I was with friends, when I'm like in my masters, when I was with friends, I try to be present because I don't know when next I'm going to see them. And like for me, I have a very broad network, so I really don't know when next I'm going to see you. So when I'm with you, I try to make the most of that meeting or that encounter, just being present. And I feel like trying to really prioritize, manage your time properly and focus on the things which give you energy kind of also pushes you to be more present and enjoy those things the more. So that's definitely my third tip: manage your time properly and be intentional with the time you have, because you can't just passively be doing stuff out here, because I think that's the ghetto. Fourth thing, and kind of the most important thing, like overarching, keep a positive mindset. I feel like I see a lot of people who are starting off and just have these low composure, this low countenance, just this negative outlook on stuff. And I'm like, I get it, I get where it's coming from, especially if you start in the winter. I think if you start in the winter, it's just the ghetto. Pretty start in the summer, because the winter, I started in the summer as well, and I feel like that really helped. But starting the winter is also the ghetto. But anyways, if you start in the winter, I pray for you. I hope you be okay. But rotations can be very demanding and emotionally draining. So if you don't keep a positive outlook on top of the draining nature of rotations, it's almost like a recipe for failure. So whatever you have to do, what works best for you. I had different practices which will not necessarily work for you. I did yoga, I did meditation, I did running. Running always helped me. My routine during the rotations was kind of interesting, and I would not necessarily recommend it for everyone, but it worked for me. Wake up in the morning, always try to do something active. So like get myself active, whether in the winter or not. Always try to go for runs in the morning when I can, because it's too early to go to the gym. Or for some rotations where it starts later, I go to the gym in the morning, and after I go to work, I take a cold shower. And in the winter, when I was doing my internal medicine rotations, wake up in the morning, take a cold shower at 4:30 a.m. That really wakes you up. That kind of like sets the pace for the day, where you know you've conquered the first challenge of the day, which is taking a cold shower. And then you're kind of like in the mindset of anything that comes my way during the day, I'm gonna crush it as well. You know, just kind of having these small practices in place to make sure that you're, you know, kind of pumped up about what you're gonna do and excited and looking forward to the day. I feel like these small things really go a long way. But eventually it's really important to just keep a positive mindset. Like, whatever happens to you, however it feels at the moment, try to surround yourself with people who, you know, have a positive outlook. Because if everyone around you is just gloomy and they're like just sulking about the rotation, that does not necessarily help you as well. Who you surround yourself with, really important during the rotations. Try to surround yourself with people who have a positive mindset, positive outlook, because that ultimately goes a long way into like influence how you feel and how you also perceive and look at rotations. But those have been my 4 tips. Take care of yourself, be assertive, and stand up for yourself, because that is really important. Communicate clearly what you need and what you actually want and what is going to help you get the most out of your rotations, because that's what everyone wants. Manage your time properly and keep a positive mindset. I feel like these are my 4 tips which really helped me like navigate the rotations. I'm still navigating it. I'm almost done. I few months left and then I'm finally done, but I'm excited for the last month. It's going to be interesting. Please let me know in the comment section if any of these tips helped you, if any of these tips are relatable to you as well. Other medical students who are also in their rotation journey, let me know in the comment section, or let others know in the comment section what tips helped you. What did you really find was really resourceful and helpful for you in navigating the rotations? It could be a means to help other people. You never know who can benefit from that. So be sure to let me know in the comment section if you have other tips, what tips helped you, and if this were helpful to you as well. I hope this video was helpful to someone out there, because that's why I'm making this video, right? Be sure to like, subscribe, so you can stay up to date with the videos I'm going to be posting. I'm going to be making another video specifically for the scientific rotation. Let me know if there's other rotations you want to talk about specifically. I'm just done with my scientific rotation now, so I kind of know that there's a lot more that goes to that rotation compared to the other rotations I've had. So I'm going to make a separate video about that. Let me know if you want also another video talking about a specific rotation, and I'll be sure to make a video about that as well. But hope this video was helpful to someone, and until next time, stay blessed and peace.